Just Like Us, for LGBT young people.
Hey Sarah!
Hey James!
I feel like we always say that exactly the same way at the beginning of every episode.
It's nice to have consistency.
It's quite cute, actually. How are you in this lovely March?
I'm pretty good. It's a pretty grizzly March outside.
Yeah, it's raining outside. We're both looking outside the window and it's not good.
It's not
but it was
good.
nice recently. We had some really
Yeah.
good weather lately. What are we talking about this March?
Okay, so this March, it's 31st of March is International Transgender Day of Visibility. So to celebrate that and celebrate all the lovely trans people we have in the community, we wanted to talk about some trans issues and talk with trans people.
And trans visibility.
Mm-hmm.
You're listening to Just Like Us, the monthly show for LGBT young people.
So should we talk a bit about the history of trans?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
So basically, it started with in 2009, so a long old time ago, 10 years ago, with Rachel Crandall, who's a trans rights activist who was in Michigan, and she kind of reacted to the lack of LGBT holidays in general that celebrate trans people. And she was also, I think she was very frustrated that the only well-known trans holiday was the Trans Day of Remembrance, which is obviously very important, but I think it's also, it's like
it's
mourning,
quite sad,
it's mourning the murders of trans people, which is like not as light and upbeat for a March day as today.
And obviously such a big part of LGBT like identity and culture is pride, both in like the sense of the event but also like the meaning of the word. And so it's so nice to have this new holiday where like it's like a day for like trans pride and trans visibility,
and just that day
than just like that sadness.
And just focusing on like happier things in terms of like the living members of the trans community and what everyone contributes, and then kind of letting people. So this was kind of it's in 2015 it kind of started as like more of a social media thing rather than just kind of an interpersonal thing. So on like Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, you name it, like people were posting selfies like with their personal stories. And I think it's also important to know that like there's such a wide range of stories and they're all important, I think.
The other thing that's happening this month, I've been waiting all year since the last one.
Honestly.
It's National Conversation Week, 18th to the 24th of March. Have a conversation with somebody, go for it. So for National Conversation Week, and combined, it's all coming together, we decided to have some national conversations with some national trans people. We're now going to go to an interview segment I recorded a few days ago with our lovely local trans guy, Leo. Here's that.
You're listening to Just Like Us, the monthly show for LGBT young people.
Hello, I'm here with Leo. Hi, Leo.
Hi, my name is Leo. I use he, him pronouns, and I am a trans guy here at Oxford University.
Here at Oxford University. What positions do you hold? You have many fancy positions.
Yeah, so I, for the last year, have been one of the trans officers for the Oxford University LGBTQ Society. I've been the secretary for the LGBTQ campaign for the last year, and I'm also just finishing my year as my college, Lady Margaret Hall's first JCR trans officer.
I didn't even know all of that. That's so impressive.
It's been a busy year.
Yeah, oh my God. So my first question, do you have a cute story about trans visibility, like an anecdote?
I do. Back when I was in sixth form, when I was questioning my own gender, I didn't really have access to any communities who were LGBTQ+, and I didn't know any trans people. So I found it quite difficult to figure out what was going on with my own gender.
For sure.
Because I knew that I didn't feel like a girl, but I didn't really know what I did feel like because I never really heard of it before. And someone who turned out to be my best friend in sixth form, I discovered was a trans guy. And it was so nice to be able to meet someone who was going through what I was also going through and had language for that and could like explain to me what I was feeling. And it was such a like nice moment to find people like yourself. So yeah, that's my
so
first
cute.
memory.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
Aw, I love that. What does trans visibility mean to you?
So kind of following on from my first answer.
Yeah.
For me, trans visibility is less about seeing big names in the media. For me, it's more about knowing that trans identities and trans people exist, whether they are a celebrity or whether they're just someone who you know through school. Because I think it's quite common for lots of people to struggle with their gender, but to not really have language to put to that. Because they don't have access to these kind of resources and this kind of knowledge. So for me, trans visibility is seeing other people like yourself in everyday contexts where it's not made into a massive deal and it's not stigmatized and people can just exist as trans people.
All of these questions are on a very similar theme with a lot of similar answers. But so internationally, trans visibility, I think there can be quite a lot of variation. Well, there is quite a lot of variation. Can you talk a bit about that and kind of internationally how visibility works?
So I guess when we talk about trans identities, we think of quite a quote-unquote Western idea of gender.
Yeah.
But in actuality, it's so much more diverse than that, and gender varies so much across different communities and different countries and different boundaries. So I think it's important that we recognise how diverse it is. But I don't know, I think International Day of Visibility, I think, is important, not necessarily because it's a day for trans people to come out and to be public about it, but it's a day that's important for dispelling stigma about trans identities and for challenging transphobia. I don't think it should be so much as placing an onus on trans people to tell everyone else that they're trans, because that opens you up to so much vulnerability. But I think it's a really important and useful day for talking about the problems that trans people face and why it's important that people know more about the identities.
Well, so good segue into my last question. So again, tying it all in with National Conversation Week, how do you think we can have better conversations about trans issues? Because there have been some less than favourable headlines and things lately. It's something that's very much on the minds of all LGBT plus people. What do you think?
Well, kind of an obvious one, but talking to trans people is normally a good start. You see a lot of scary headlines coming out of things that people who aren't trans have said, and that kind of builds into the stigma and the transphobia when you've got people who aren't part of the community making claims that trans people are dangerous and trans people shouldn't be allowed to exist in certain spaces. But if you talk to almost any trans person, you get to a much more human level, and I think that's really key for having conversations that can make people understand more about trans issues.
Yeah. Right, well, thank you very much.
No problem.
I guess the message here is, this month, have a chat with somebody trans about how we can be nicer to everybody.
Do that.
Thank you very much. See ya.
No problem.
Bye.
Bye.
You're listening to Just Like Us, the monthly show for LGBT young people.
Yeah, so thank you, Leo, and hopefully in the future we'll have more like interviewees and stuff, and like get in touch with some other people from the community. That would be wonderful. If you are a trans person, feel free to be as visible as you want to be on March 31st and the rest of the time.
You're all valid.
We love you.
Yeah, we
Goodbye.
love you, trans
See you
people.
next month.
Bye.
You've been listening to Just Like Us, the monthly show for LGBT young people. The music was by Twisterium. We come into schools too. Young people, teachers and parents can find us at www.justlikeus.org.